So why I bring that up and Pat asked me to come and share some of my drills is I am not the best at what we do on the court. I am best at how or why we what we do. The guys that I work with are best at what, and the what is the actual drill itself. My goal with the people I work with, and my goal today is really just to try to stimulate some thinking. What I want you to do is please give feedback. Ask any questions that we have inside the packet. This is a lot of information. I will spend an hour on each of the topics. The first one is just basically how people learn. The second is how we do our Alpha team lessons. And the third part of that is how we do our USTA team lessons. I know that in Atlanta we're rare because we have 2 different seasons being Alpha and USTA. What I want to do is really start from a big perspective of how we do programming at Sugarloaf. And how we had to start was we started in terms of the page with the learning process. Inside of that, we wanted to figure out how we do clinics and how we do our private lessons. Our privates will spend time in the 1, 2, 3, and 4 stages of the learning process. Our clinics and our drills spend time in the 4, 5, and 6. Now, there may be 10 stages of the learning process, there may be 12, or maybe 4. But what this 8 stages helps us with is it helps us define what each clinic and what each lesson looks like. Inside of that, we're trying to even divide up inside the seasons of what we're working on. For example, during the USTA season, we will spend time on the technical part of the game. During our Alpha clinics, or our Alpha part of the season, we will spend time in the actual strategy part of the game. If our teams make playoffs, then we will spend time. We figure that they have done so because they have learned the technical and tactical part of their 3.0 or 8.0 division, and so we will spend time in the mental part of the game during those clinics. What that has helped us do is help encourage people to come out more. Why would they want to come out to a clinic after the season's done when they're in the playoffs? Why do they want to spend more money? The playoff comes cost them more. So we decided to call it the mental part of the game, understanding how to operate under stress. We also figured out that when I was there is that a lot of time we were spending time in our clinics, we were spending time a lot on technique. Well, if we moved that to our private lessons and spent time in the tactical in our group lessons, then what happens that helps not only our lesson revenue, but really it helps our students learn a little bit better. Do you have any questions in regards to this learning process or anything that we do with that? Okay, then moving on. What happened in our Alpha clinics, what you see in that particular page is an overview. One of the weaknesses that we have is that our Alpha clinics are divided into 3 segments. Usually we have 3 different courts going on at the same time. So we have 3 different drills, as you see at the top of the page. We'll have a court 1, court 2, and a court 3. Inside of that, we will divide that into 20 minutes. Each pro spends 20 minutes to recruit the group, and then the pro rotates. At the end, we spend the last 10 to 15 minutes of them playing. As you saw in the learning process, that's important to talk about the playing, because we have to see what they have learned. One of our first issues that we had to deal with when it came to playing was every pro talked about something different. So if you see a point we would see a point happening, and we would instantly talk about what happened during that point. And everybody sees it a little different. How we solved that was what happened is we wanted to spend more time being proactive inside of the strategy and less reactive. With the proactive approach, what we did was that whenever the theme of the day was aggressive play, that's what we talked about during the playtime. Not necessarily how to win the point, but what were you trying to establish during that particular point. And it helped in one, helping our students not be so analytical during the match play, and second, it helped just for us pros to be more consistent inside of what we were trying to tell our students on how to react. I.e., when you tell people to be aggressive, what ends up happening is they get loud. As you get loud, they want to stop coming in. But if the day was about being aggressive, we were going to be aggressive regardless of that loud. If the day was about covering the loud, then we would work on that particular skill of that day. That's a lot of information. If I have any questions or about. Okay, then if I could have 4 volunteers, real quick, we'll go through some of our drills. There we go. There's one. As you see, as I have more people coming out, the top part of the page, one of the hard things about teaching that we found at Sugarloaf, again, this is what we do, that the students weren't learning. You teach one thing 1 week, and you ask them what did they learn, they weren't able to repeat what they had learned. So as you see on the top of the page, Billy, myself, is working on coaching. By the end of the season, they should all know what my court was working on through the whole season. Court 2, Pro B, was on offensive play. If you asked what that pro was working on, by the end of the season, they would be able to describe that pro was working on offensive play. Same over there with the defensive play. That way, at the end of the 8 weeks, we know that they did learn coaching, they learned offensive play, and they learned parts of defensive play. That's why the themes were there. We wanted to ask our students at the end what they had learned. Second of all, that the theme on the left side is really the theme of the week. So how that theme is just what we're going to work on in that particular week. Inside of it, then each particular pro works on their skill. And that's what I'm going to work on right now. We're going to talk about the different levels, the different skills, that sets that we're going to work on with the levels. Now, I know that we're not incredibly consistent with it. I'm just trying to say that this is what we do at Sugarloaf when it comes to the skill sets. We have 2 of you guys, one that time. Good. 2 people, 1 here. I can get you names. Then have one person back in the baseline, one person at the net, one person at baseline. 2 things that we describe immediately when it comes to double strategy is that we will talk about an offensive side and a defensive side. One of the issues that we struggled with when we were doing our drills, because we try to do as much live ball drills as possible, is that everybody wants to know as soon as they lost a point, why did they lose a point? So in order for us to understand that, we say we're going to work on the offensive side, which is on that side of the court. This defensive side is obvious. The defensive side strictly just works on trying to get the ball back in play. Any ball over the net in defense is a good ball. And so we put them in different positions so that we can have moving back to the base. I'm good. Right over there, service line. The other thing is that inside of our double strategy, we work on what we call a setup person and a kill person. Important to understand that for the way we do it at Sugarloaf, the difference is because too many times the setup person is trying to win the point, the kill person is trying to win. We should be trying to win the point. We define the kill person as a person in that setup person is a person back there. Very obvious. Always important as we're trying to describe double strategy. Set a person back in the baseline, kill person at the neck. So the first drill on your sheet that we're working on is the hitting the ball. I'm going to skip actually the hitting ball in the middle. We're going to go right onto the poaching. So inside of poaching and our sleeve level drills, what we do is we're going to feed a live ball. How this is going to work is I will feed the ball to Michelle. We're going to play that ball out. Second ball, I want you to poach at the net. Right? And Michelle, I want you to go ahead and switch sides. We're going to play all three balls out. So live ball play. So first ball, feed cross court. Play it out. Good. Second ball fed, and I'm going to ask you to go ahead and coach. Go ahead and coach. Go. Good. Ball switch. Nice point. All right, we'll go back and reset. So for our C-level ladies, go ahead and reset. Yeah, excellent. Oh, back to the same place. Yes. So for our C-level ladies, what we do is we work on the switching back at the baseline. So Michelle, we're just going to have you did a nice job. We'll do that again. This time, you're going to poach off my second ball feed and not off that ball. Here we go. So first ball, play out. Second ball. Now we're going to poach. Good. Third ball, Michelle. Good. Excellent. Obviously, as a high-level player, she instantly comes in. So what happens is in our B's and C's, we have to go back to our position, go back to positions. But what we'll have is we'll actually have Michelle come in to the tee, so head directly in. So on that second ball, after he poaches on the second ball feed, I want you to come in. If a ball is missed, right, and usually this happens in the D level, I'll end up feeding that third ball, so making sure Michelle is in the right position. So first ball. That's good. Second ball, now's the poach. Good. Here we go. Second ball poach. Excellent. And the third ball, right on feet. Nice job. Fairly simple, but the important part of this is that we're trying to keep that live. Now, depending on my level, this is a high level, I probably only need to feed 1 to 2 balls. The lower level obviously starts missing the ball after the first or second ball. Michelle will try to get a winner off the first ball. The coach is missed. And so each time I'll feed because I want them to work on their position, work on their movement during the point. Does that make sense? The third ball, which I didn't have to feed, the third ball is going to go back to the person making sure they crossed. Because obviously, I didn't talk about that, but the obvious point is when a person coaches, the other person needs to make sure that they cross to the other side. And that third ball is critical to feed at the C's and B's. Why? Because the ball is being missed during that point. So that's why you feed that third ball in play. Could be even a fourth ball, just depending on how they rally. Does that make sense?
When they're coaching,
yep.
if they hit the ball back,
yes.
you cover your
Yeah. So you know what? So what happens is during the different levels, what we do is that the C's in ball, we just want them moving.
Yeah.
And then as they get the B's, because they get a 4 3 5s and 4, they can start placing that ball to that side. Our rules of thumb that we do at Sugarloaf is that if the person crosses the line, they're responsible for that side of the park regardless of where they move the ball. And the other person crosses. Why? Because the reason why we do that is I need my partner or my time to be able to move. So I cross the line, I have not hit the ball, they're already moved to reaction for the ball if it comes back on either side. So even if I make the mistake of hitting the ball back to that back person, at least my partner's over there to try to help cover that ball. Does that make sense how that works? We'll play that one more time. All right, one more time. So first ball, go close to that second ball back. Yep. Good. Good. Second ball. Go. Move, cut forward. Nice. So each time what we're trying to do inside that live ball play, inside that 4 and 5 learning process, is really focus on that particular movement. Either the person crossing that line, right, or the person moving back. Now, as they get better, we'll focus on that person cutting more in and not necessarily cutting across. Not important for this particular drill. Another coaching exercise that we'll do is now I'm going to make you coach off the third ball. So if it's a C level, you have to make him coach off the first or second. Why? Because they're not going to make that many balls. But at the higher levels, you can start making them pick a number to coach. And so that's what we're going to do on this next drill. Again, so you're going to pick a number. So you got to go on the third ball. 1, 2, you got to go. High, of course. Again. There it is, there's the third one, nice job. All right, so we're going to go on the second ball this time. I want you to go to the second ball. Here we go. Good, so hold it there. Good, this is a good example. This is exactly how we teach a lesson how a drill falls apart, right? What happens is that now I'm going to ask you to move early. I want you to take off before you even hits the ball. All right, good. Second ball, we're going to commit it. Now, I can do 2 things to manipulate this. One is I can allow this person to go ahead and go down the line, which would be an obvious thing when the person moves early, or I can require this person to always hit the ball across court, regardless of their movement. So it just depends on what I'm trying to teach. The number one thing at the lower levels that we try to teach is get that person to be aggressive. We believe at Sugarloaf, or even in double strategy around them, is that that person is aggressive. We get errors on this side. And so because of that, we want them to move even if it's a wrong time, wrong positions. And so that we try to focus on that the most in any part of our doubles. Do we have any questions about this drill? It's fairly simple.
I have a question about the rotation.
Sure.
Once you finish a set,
Yes.
and I'm on this side,
Yeah.
can that person just back up?
It could, but what we do is what happens if I have 5 or 6 on a court, I will rotate that person over there. If I have 4 people on the court, I want you to learn your set of persons. So what happens is we'll spend 3 minutes, 4 minutes of this, and then I'll rotate all 4 of you in one place and spend 3 to 4 minutes. Why? Because I want them to remember they're the setup person, they're the kill person. I want this kill person to remember what it feels like to have to sit there and react to balls for 4 minutes, because it's not very much fun. They're all lying about being in this particular position, right? And I want this person to remember what it was like for 3 to 4 minutes, what it was like trying to get around that person or force them to have to go across the court. So we do that 4-minute rotation. It doesn't, when I have 5 or 6, we keep everybody on that side and then we rotate. But it still try to help them with the defense because it helps them remember why the movement is so important. Do we have any other questions? Please ask, because I know sometimes when we do these drills in our club or our place, they start to fall apart. So that's why I'm here to help. Yes. Yes, the backhand side. Sure, let's do the backhand side. Same thing, backhand side. Most of the time, if I'm introducing coaching, that's the first time that they've been around, I will definitely spend time on their dominant side, easier move. Once they get used to that movement, I will spend most of my time right here in the back end. If you notice that we do 20-minute rotations, that's 3 to 4 minutes in each particular spot. On this, I will try to always start on the outside. It's the most important side of the court. It's where all the game points are played. So it's really important to get good at this side of the court. I know 40-15 is a game point, but that's probably the most loose play point there is when it comes to tennis. So all the 40-30s, the 30-40s, the adding, the out on the side. So let's go ahead and practice that. So the first one, you're going to poach on my second ball. All right. Sure. For this level, we start from 2-5. You know what? We do not have. We have enough players to work inside of that. I do not. That is one area I do not have a chance to work in. Is that we have the different levels and the different skill sets. But I would do that if I did have the different levels and skill sets. I would add the extra ball for you. I think that's the thing that helps keep that value going. So, yes, I would actually rotate the players quicker on the court instead of having 3 or 4 minutes. I might rotate that side quickly. So I'd also set up my high-level players, making sure that they were getting ball on this side. They were getting a lot of balls reacted back to them. And my lower level players, I would make sure it just moved that drill moved quickly. I would do it that way, just so people would get more balls. That's a very good question. Do you have any other questions? We're going to go on to the second ball. Yeah, so my 3 minutes, let's do that. Everybody, let's go ahead and rotate one spot. One spot to the left, clockwise. Yes, you can. Yeah, so you're technically over there, yes, it's a movement right here, you're over there. Yes. Go ahead and go.
I was right there.
You were right there. Yes. Yeah. So I just technically So, all right. Now we're going to have this switch. Then go back to that. Yeah. Perfect. Right. There we go. First ball. Second ball post. So here we go. Second ball post. Third ball. Michelle's going to switch over there. Good. Play out that one. Good. Now, getting that drill is the most important part. After I get them used to that drill, and I try to use, if you see my sheets, I try to use the same drill. Most weeks I just change it up a little bit. What happens is I'll have you, let's have you start closer with that. Good. We'll change positions. Now I'm going to have him more like the server's partner, closer to the net. I can also have you back to the server side, coaching from that particular position, learning to cut more in. Let's have him closer. Coach on his second ball. His second ball. Here we go. Now, if feed the third ball in. There you go. Second ball in. Good. But I find it's easy because I'm working with people that play tennis. One of the critical things that I have to use, because after a point, your players will want to go back to the position. Points finished. They do not want to be ready again. So I will tell them how many balls on their feet, and I will yell that number out. I'll yell second ball. That will help them get ready for that second ball. I'll yell third ball. They'll look for the third ball. Because instantly they will want to go back, because in their mind, the point is finished. And they'll always ask me, why do you get a second ball, the third ball? I get confused. And I keep reminding them is that helping them getting in position, right, if the points do last longer. So learning to move to that position, because eventually they will get to the level where the ball comes back more. The difference between 2-5 and 4-up, and the difference between people out here is that the ball comes back one more time. So you have to learn to be able to move on the tennis court. So I remind them that. I think that's the critical thing behind the drill, is just keep telling them. First, I'm going to do 3 balls. First ball, second ball, third ball. Let's do this one more time. I want you to go ahead and go to the second ball. I'm going to feed 2 balls in. So here it is. First ball. All right, reset. Here we go. Focus on his second ball. All right, all right, reset. So if they were able to focus, good, reset it. So you'll reset the point. So I want you to focus on his second ball, not my ball. Here we go. First ball. Yep. Nope, that's exactly what happens. Good. Again, reset. I want you to focus on his second ball. One. Mover, good. Good. Second ball. Ready? Good. Second ball. Good. Nice point. Notice 2 things. That once that point got blown in the beginning, I yelled reset. I did not feed that second ball back in play. Once they actually got to positions that I wanted to, then I fed that second ball in play. And yell second ball. And you saw right away, everybody reacts once you go back. But I think it's so important to learn to be able to move to those positions.
I have a question about when you want them to coach. When do you teach certain levels to lead?
So,
Like what point? Ball lands, stroke.
good point.
Because at different levels, it's really a different
Yes.
ball game because of speed.
Yes, good point. So what happens is that I think one of the best books around is called The Art of Doubles. It's double strategies and drills. But they talk about that. Inside that book. I want the person to coach. They do not, I work a lot with ladies, guys who are more aggressive. They do not want to move. And so I will teach them to move early. Go. Find a way to go. Way beforehand. The more you have to find that meeting, as you know, as a teacher, you have to find that meeting time. Going too early, you're not moving at all. So I require them to go early. Take off. That's why you go on the second shot and go. Just move. And then as they go, then they learn when to take off and when not to take off. But my point behind the strategy, instead of spending time when, I try to spend time. My goal behind this point, go back up the shot. Back at the baseline. The goal behind all the levels, unless you're working with an extremely high level, the goal behind this is I was trying to get Michelle to think about it. I want her to feel like she's got to hit the ball lower or it's to the outside of the court because it's an error. Every match that you have ever lost and your people have ever lost is because they have made errors. Right? So the game is about forcing errors. That's the beauty behind double strategy. Just like you can have a mid-level player play like this and still be able to win the double. So what happens is I'll go early and let her have that winner, and I got what I want. That's really what I want instead of the volley. So some people pros will tell me, why do you have to do 2 5s? Move. Why do you have them? No. Why? I want an error over there. Now we are inside the strategy process. What we do is as they start losing, as they start playing will naturally be more conservative. It's a natural flow of the tennis match. So they'll stay more. What happens if you beat down the line too many times? You're going to start hating down the line. That's just a natural move. It's not natural. It is that particular approach. Do we have any other questions? Inside of that, you saw formation changes. If I came with people to coach, we started using signals inside the play, make them move. I know if anybody ever tried to teach signals, that really gets our raise a little bit uptight. But I really think that helps people move. When we work with signals, and we tell them it's not looking for a post, it's looking for a switch. I give a partner a signal. We'll go ahead and try to do a strategy real quick with the signal. Now this side is going to be the offensive side. You guys are the defensive side. And this person up here is going to give the signal. How this drill is going to work is I'm going to serve, right? We're going to play out the point. I'm going to feed a second ball in at the point. I want you to move early. So you're going to go ahead and give me a signal. Traditional signals is open, go, close, stay. I look at it, I decide if I like it. Go ahead and give me a signal. Yes, I like that one. Excellent. So I'll hit the serve. Go ahead and switch. Notice. So second ball. Second ball, play out. Good. How many balls I feed and play will depend on this person back here's movement. I want them to get used to hitting that serve, or if I hit the serve, to move on over here, because what happens is I'm actually just stand there and watch as that person hits. Second one, very nice move. But notice, he waited until the person hit. Inside of our strategy, we teach this is the switch. So we'll actually move way earlier. As soon as the ball struck, we got to switch. And what do we do is I'm just telling you, you got to come down. Right? I'm right here on top of that, and you got to hit there. And that person's just running over there to hit. Just to get them changed, to give people the freedom, your freedom to move. It really depends on your level, depends on how you feel comfortable with the coach and the players. So, that's going to be on a higher level, and so there's a lot of court positions and ball positions depending on the level of players you're working with. You're working with the high school players, you're working with C-level or B-level players, and so yes. And then I will manipulate the drill even more with the feeds, with the placement, and putting people in those positions, trying to get them used to that third, fourth ball, being able to react to that ball. That's why I have the second and third ball feeds. Why? Because when we do the drill themselves, it points over within the shot. So that's why we do that. Do we have any other questions? C is a 2-5, sorry. Okay. 2-5. 2-5, 3-0, in my mind is a 2-5, 3-0 player. B is a 3-0, 3-5 player, 3-5, 12. I also take into consideration athletic ability of the player and their ability. Tell them. So I actually will put a dot. I literally will seriously, I'll put a dot out here. I have a red dot, a green dot, and a yellow dot. And so what happens is I will tell them, right, go to the dot, go toward near the dot. So they'll hit the ball, they'll move towards the dot, and stop right there. Boom. So run here, as soon as the ball struck, run there. And that's why you saw I hit the serve. If I was working with a 4-0 player, I would have them hit the serve. Unless they're missing it, right? If they're second serve, fourth. They miss the first serve, I hit the second serve, play out the same thing again.
Your strategy really is when you're coaching off this person.
That's really, you know, yeah.
You're making doing something different.
Yeah, yes, and that's the essence of double strategy, right? Double strategy is is one team, the offensive team, is trying to make bad decisions, right? Because you're trying to play, right? And make errors. So that's, yep. Yeah, no difference. It doesn't really work for the ladies, but it really works well for the men is the football analogy, right? You blitz the quarterback. There is someone wide open downfield. And hopefully he doesn't have the time or he panics and gets rid of that ball too quickly and makes a mistake. That's the same deal when you have a movement or they come in. How much time do I have? What do? Good, awesome. So the next thing is on the offensive play, offensive side. You saw that particular throw didn't necessarily believe the two people coming in. Really didn't like that particular strategy, so we had to work with what he did like. And so what we did was, as you saw, there was different offensive positions and we worked more shots. For the sake of this talk, though, I am going to work on offensive positioning. And how that's going to work is all rotate one more spot, rotate to your left. You can do that first time. Yeah, you're rotating. You're right. All right, how this is going to work? I'm going to feed a short ball, and you're going to hit that ball coming in. Play out that. We're going to play out that point. After that point, I'm going to feed a second ball, and we're going to play out that. Okay. And this side is going to be defense. That side is on offense. All right. So first ball, hit the ball. Come on in. Grab the second ball. That's the drill. Now we're going to work on the actual positions. What I want is that the offensive team is defined by the kill person being in the front half of the box. So I'm just trying a little bit closer. Good. When the setup person in modern doubles, right, the setup person is only going to come in just inside that service line. Now it's okay once in a while to have both people on top of that room that you're going to just to set the ball out. But those are the points we want you to play out. Right there at that service line, and so that way we have a staggered formation. We at Sugarloaf think that unless you can literally have the footwork to actually take that step back and cross step and be able to cover your own lob, that the setup person is responsible for all lobs. Kill person is in charge of being able to what? Put the ball away. We want to keep that person in that particular position. Alright, let's play it out. 2 balls again. First ball, get the ball, come on in. Good. Now what have you guys do? Right there, that service line, boom, with a low volley. That is it's so important as you do this particular drill that you have them work on that volley for service line. It's one of the toughest volleys there is. All it is just trying to get that ball back in play. Let's reset. Do one more time. So first ball. Second ball. Do I have any? That's a fairly simple one. That's Do I have any questions?
On that second ball reset, you have to go back to the source ball.
Yes.
Reset.
I would not say reset. I would say second ball, and then I would make him move. I would stop it and make him move to that particular position, so I make sure that they work on that second, that low volley. That is a hard volley. That is, no one wants to practice that. I just had them stand there. They would complain like no other that they were standing there hitting that low volleys. Everybody's there. They're missing when they made it. So, yeah. Do you have any other questions? Besides the company. The other thing that then what happens is we start working on where the ball is being hit inside the company. We try to help people 2-5, 3-5. We try to define two different types of people. Are they a hard hitter or are they a soft hitter? I know there's plenty of people in between. It just helps them start recognizing that it's not about them, that it's about the other players. If they have a soft hitter, right, we try to have them play more in the middle of the board, getting a shorter ball to come in, not a hard drive ball. Why? Because the counter puncher soft hitter likes to use the power, pop up the lobs. And so what happens is a mixture of that. Is I want you to just go ahead and take one more position. What I'm going to do now is I want you to hit a short ball or a shorter ball as you try to come in and not drive the ball deep. After that, I'm going to give you a second ball. The second ball, I want you to hit again. That second that volley will be a little bit lower. If my net person is not getting any balls, I'll end up feeding my net person and not always my second ball will be there. If it's my 2-5 ladies, which I probably don't get much rallies, I might do 3 balls. One there, back, play out the point, second to the net person, and then third back to that setup person. Let's first of all just do the 2. So you're going to hit it. Back to what we're going to do. I'm going to have a short ball. I want you to hit a ball, come on in. I want you to hit it shorter, play it out. I'm going to give you a second ball and play that out. Both of them being short. Here we go. Get the second ball, good. Good. Now, notice I don't let them necessarily reset. I get a lot of complaints about that, but I will not let them reset. Why? Because that is more of a match situation than anything else I can do, right? I will try to get them set in position and feed that second ball, yell it. And then when I yell reset means that we start all over and everybody can go back to their positions. So that's what I use. I use the numbers or the reset. Do we have any other questions about that? If you're playing, why tell them the difference between a hard hitter and a soft hitter? The hard hitter likes to usually come in. Also, what happens is that they like to drive into the ball. And so that's why only in the soft hitter we try to have them come on in and bring that ball in and try to get it shorter. I think that's a common mistake we see.